Hello and welcome to the show. Before we begin, apologies. Two things. Number one, my cold is still here, but I'm getting better. And then number two, this is an out and about recording. So it's not going to be as noisy as the last time. You probably won't hear as many cars. But expect to hear some birds around and some people having conversations. So, welcome to the show. This is the Sales for the Nigerian Business Person podcast. It's available on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, any podcast player of your choice. So, remember to subscribe for free. You'd be surprised the number of people who send me messages asking if you have to pay any money to subscribe. No, you don't pay any money at all. I have heard that there are some podcasters who monetize by their podcast, getting you to pay for to listen to audio. I didn't know that was a thing, and I have no idea how to do it. So until then, I probably won't do that anyway, because I think that what we talk about over here on the podcast, sales, personal selling, marketing, things like that, it's a gospel that needs to be spread as far and as wide as possible. We can monetize in other avenues. So it's been free for 3 years. It's going to be free for the next foreseeable future. So subscribe and get caught up to date on all the juicy stuff we talk about over here on the podcast. And once you're done listening to this episode, give me a 5-star review, because so far nobody has given me a 4-star or a 3-star review. It's all been 5s. So today on the show, what is the difference between an investor and an entrepreneur? This is an audience question from, this is another one of those wonderful names, Sinenhlanla, and the surname is, I assume it's pronounced Sne, S-N-E. So Sinenhlanla Sne. Okay, well, first off, apologies that I seem to be destroying both your name and your surname. I'm a Nigerian kid. The most traveling I've done has been Scotland, UK, and so that's it. So I just know my home country. I know some of the ethnicities and tribes around here, and I'm familiar with the good folks in the United Kingdom, especially in Scotland. I consider that to be my second home, my LGA, my local government area. But apart from that, a whole lot of these names that I come across on the African continent sound really exotic. Anyway, so that apology is out of the way. So Sinenhlanla. So the question that he or she has is, what's the difference between an investor and an entrepreneur? Okay, let's head straight into it. So, are they alike, investor and entrepreneur? Are they similar? And the answer is yes, sure. That's because they expect returns from the daily activities that they do, the daily business activities that they do. So in that sense, entrepreneurs and investors are alike. Now, what is the difference? The difference is this. Entrepreneurs want to make a living, or rather make a killing, if I can put it that way, from solving market problems. Entrepreneurship, the root, it's a French word. I've spoken about it over here on the podcast, but I'm not going to go into exactly what that word means, because some people like to stick to the original French meaning. Some people like to pick all these sexy definitions that are out there in the market nowadays that emphasize all kinds of things. But the thing is, whether you go with the original French leanings of the word up onto the much more sexy definitions that people throw about, you find that entrepreneurship has one thing in common, and that is problem solving. So somebody makes $1 million naira or $1 billion or $1 trillion Zimbabwean, whatever the currency is, and the underlying thing is that they were able to solve market problems. So solve problems that exist, or sometimes emphasize or key into problems that people didn't even know that they had. So that's the underlying thing. Entrepreneurship equals problem solving. Entrepreneurship is about solving problems. Now, if you use all the sexy definitions out there, like for instance the American poster boys, like Zuckerberg, it is his own thing was solving problems around social networking. So it was he and his crew that were able to solve that puzzle, because they were not the first. There had been other people before them. MySpace, what else? There was some computer thing where you would have avatars. Is it Second Life or something like that? Anyway, back then I wasn't really into social networking. I still am not a tech person. I only use tech and digital stuff to the extent that I have to. But it's not like it's my native. It's not like it's my native thing. That's the reason why it's been 3 years, and I'm still making these podcast recordings into my phone. I haven't gotten a fancy computer, fancy microphone, fancy editing software, blah blah blah. I just use tech to the extent that I need to. Anyway, that was too much of a detour. Where was I? Okay, so Zuckerberg, they solved the problem of social networking. Other people had tried to do it before. Zuckerberg was one of the few that was able to make it work, and it seems to be working so far. So, Bezos, Amazon, the problem having consumer deliverables or a one stop shop for everything at breakneck speed. When I say breakneck speed, in relative terms, because now we get to have things delivered in the UK anyway. The last time I went to go and see my brother and his family in the UK, we ordered some stuff. I think it was about 8 or 9, and by 12 it was at the house, and I thought that was really impressive. So that's the direction that they're going at. And for folks in Nigeria, I think the last time we tried, we were able to hit 1 week, and I think that's really good. So those are the sorts of problems that he's solving. Just like how DHL, was it DHL or UPS or one of those companies, wanted to solve that whole thing of you want to send a package, you can send it from anywhere in the world and get it to the other place the next day. So you want to send something from Nigeria, you want to send it to America, I can send it here in Abuja today, and then by Abuja time tomorrow it's over there in America. So those are the sorts of problems that we're solving. Now, we don't always have to stick to the American sexy case studies, because if you check in your own part of the globe, you definitely have stuff that are going on there, shining examples of what entrepreneurship is. And in Nigeria, we also have poster boys and poster girls for what entrepreneurship is. So, one of my favorite examples, people don't seem to talk about her a lot nowadays, is Mo Abudu. And she's the CEO, or, okay, well, I don't know if she's the CEO, but whatever it is, she's the brains, is the brains behind Ebony Life. I was saying is and was because they've moved through several iterations. The TV station is gone, but they now do lots of streaming. And for Mo Abudu, the emphasis was authentic Nigerian stories told by Africans by Africans. So, yeah, did I get that right? Okay, so African stories told to Africans by Africans and from the first person African narrative. So that was the problem that they were trying to cure. And there was the TV station. Then now I think the focus is online streaming content. For the African continent. Yeah. I think for a while they did some stuff with Netflix, and I'm not sure. They probably wanted to have their own site, I think. I haven't kept up to date with what Mo has been up to, but you guys get the point. That was the problem that she was solving. And then, and it wasn't just a Nigerian thing, because with Ebony Life, there was content from West Africa, so Nigeria, Cameroon, those the East Africans, Kenyans and all that, people from the Central African Republic, and she seemed to do a good job of getting that whole content thing. That was before Netflix got involved in the business. Then, there are also all these apps, most notably, the younger Nigerian crowd, the younger Nigerian boys and girls seem to be solving problems around efficient money transfer locally. How do I transfer money better, quicker, cheaper than using my local banks? Or how can my brother send my brother in the UK send money back here quickly? Or how can parents over here send money to their kids in Norway, Canada, or whatever quickly? Because of all the restrictions that we've had with the central bank and forex and all of those kinds of concerns. So we have a new breed of Nigerian entrepreneurs who are solving all those problems. So there's always one fancy app or the other, like Chipper. I think Chipper was the last one that I tried using. So apps coming out every year, and those are the sorts of problems that were Nigerian youngsters seem to be trying to solve. So that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell, and you can see that it spans all kinds of things, whether it's social networking, consumer deliverables, entertainment like Mo Abudu, or people who are trying to facilitate payments, money transfers, things like that. So it can span a whole bunch of stuff, but basically people are trying to solve problems. The young Nigerian crowd now, they've noticed that there's a huge problem. A father wants to send money, or a mom wants to send money to her youngster in Canada, or in South Africa or whatever, but they can't do that because they have to go to the bank, they have to fill multiple forms, you have to figure out if you can get currency from the bank or if you go to a bureau de change and blah blah blah. So they're trying to figure out how can I just send money to my son, my daughter who needs it, and those are the sorts of problems that Nigerians are trying to solve now. So entrepreneurship equals problem solving. Okay, investing, on the other hand, is about capital allocation. Let me repeat. Investing, on the other hand, is about capital allocation. So you're usually looking to put capital aside in assets over the long term. So you get returns from that. So I hope you guys can see the difference. Entrepreneurs, I'm trying to solve a problem. If I solve a huge problem, I get a killing and I become a billionaire. Everybody is happy. Problem solved. Investors, on the other hand, it's capital allocation. What does capital allocation mean? Capital allocation is just moving money from one place to another. That's what capital means in this context. Money. So you're trying to move your capital, you're trying to move your wealth from one vehicle to another, from one class of assets to another, whether it's stocks or whether it's real estate or other kinds of company securities, and you're trying to get better returns over the long term. Returns over the long term, and that's how you make your wealth. Of course, you can see that investing is not about making a killing per se, because yes, you expect to make a killing over the long term, but nobody expects that because you have a few thousand and you move it from here to there, the thousands are going to turn into a million or something like that. In fact, investors usually stay away from speculative behavior. And that is exactly what speculative behavior is. Speculation, in the sense of you're just taking a chance. Investors seem to be looking for sure things. I have this, I will move it over here. It's going to give me 3% every year, and I'm going to leave it there for 10 years, and my cumulative returns is going to equal to, whatever. Those of you who know math, you can do the math. Speculative behavior, on the other end, is I have 1M, I have 300,000 or whatever, and I'm looking for how I can double or triple that money. I want to put it in some vehicle that moves quick. Put it somewhere today, next month, I want to reap 3 times or 4 times the returns. Speculative behavior, that's trying to take a chance on thing. So speculative behavior includes betting, gambling, or arbitrage opportunities. So arbitrage opportunities, that's where you buy something for 3 naira because you see that there's lots of movement there, and then you're able to sell it for 6 naira. Now, from 3 naira to 6 naira, that looks like not much. But the thing is, if you have a million and you're able to use that million, okay, no, if you have a couple mil and instead of buying just one at 3 naira, you're able to buy a million of them, then you can see how you double or triple your money overnight. So those are arbitrage opportunities. Now, so because investors are usually thinking long term and they're staying away from speculation, that is why there's this whole debate. And I'm sure the debate is raging on in Nigeria, in America, I know that for sure, and the United Kingdom, those 3 places. I'm assuming that in the rest of the world, people debate these matters as well. So that's the reason why people, have this debate about whether crypto, blockchain, and all those other Web3 stuff, whether that constitutes investing. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know my own take. I don't think that constitutes investing, but it's something that we can argue one way or another. So, that's the difference between entrepreneurship and investing. Entrepreneurs want to solve problems and they want to make a killing. You want to live that big boy lifestyle or that big girl lifestyle. You want to have a soft life. Investors focus on capital allocation. I have money, I have wealth. I'm going to move it from this vehicle to that vehicle and make a return in the process over the long term. And I'm going to stay away from speculative stuff, from stuff that seems risky and stuff that involves me taking a chance. So, which should you be? Sinenhlanla didn't answer that question, but let me just throw it in there. So, which should you be? Should you be an investor or should you be an entrepreneur? Now, there are older frameworks that answer the question. Okay, well, sorry, not old frameworks. There are old frameworks that answer the question. And one of them is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, he introduces us to one very useful tool that I talk about a lot. It's simple to remember, especially for those of you who have read the books or seen the YouTube videos. Easy to remember in a graph, in a picture form, so you never forget it. So the cash flow quadrant is just a simple quadrant, like in math, back in secondary school. X-axis, Y-axis, and then you have 4 quadrants. One of them is the employed quadrant. Another one is the self-employed quadrant. another one is the business owner quadrant, and then the investor quadrant. So these are the different quadrants, the different sectors, the different categories, the different whatever that most people are going to run through in their life, and it covers the various ways that people can make money. You're either going to make money being employed, working for Zenith Bank, or working for some government ministry or whatever in your country, or you're going to be self-employed. You're going to say, screw that, I'm tired of this, Mr. Bossman, Mr. Bosswoman, here's my resignation letter, go screw yourself, I'm going to start a business. That's being self-employed. And then if you're able to build systems around that, then you become a business owner. And then eventually you have enough cash flow so you can start throwing off into investing. So Robert Kiyosaki's advice was simple. In the different stages of life, you should run through all these quadrants to make the most chances for making money. So if you get a job, it doesn't mean you're a loser. Work with it, but try and navigate all through. From being employed, try and start your own hustle, be self-employed, build systems around it, become a business owner. Then you have plenty of positive cash flow. Don't use that and buy houses and boats and watches and things like that, but use that to invest for the long term. Of course, for Kiyosaki, when Kiyosaki says invest, what he means primarily is real estate. There are some other people who will say invest, and what they mean primarily is stock market, but that's an argument for another day. So Kiyosaki says that if you're going to be an employee, you're going to lose most of your money in taxes. Depending on which part of the world you are, sometimes you lose up to half your money in taxes. Unfortunately, that is the case. In the UK, in Nigeria, and in America, depending on the circumstances, your, what's it called? Is it pay grade or pay band or whatever? It's progressive in these three countries. So the more money you make, the more money that you lose or you forfeit in taxes. And then Kiyosaki also points out that if you're an employee, there's no reward for working harder. So you work harder than everybody else. There's no reward. Maybe you get promoted quicker than everybody else, but there's a limit to the promotions. There's a cap on your income. Then, if you're self-employed, the harder you work, the more money that you're going to make. For instance, the wedding photographer example that I return to time and time again. The more weddings you photograph, the more money you make. The less weddings you photograph, the less money you make. The person who owns a bakery, the more bread you bake and the more bread you sell, the more money you make. So that's self-employed. But the problem that Kiyosaki points out is if you're self-employed, you're always chained to your side hustle. In other words, for the wedding photographer, you have to keep shooting more weddings. The day you get sick, no money coming in. The day you get tired, no money coming in. Let's see, what else? And you get the picture. So that's part of being self-employed. And Kiyosaki points out that for the business owner, he has built systems around the business. He or she has built systems around the business idea. And then that way, you make a profit, whether you're in the office or not. So if the wedding photographer or the bread baker is able to get other people come up with standard operating procedures so people know how to take the perfect photograph, how to market, how to sell, how to bake the perfect piece of bread, how to sell it, how to run the Facebook advertisements, how to run the TV, the radio ads, whatever it is. All these systems are in place. So you do not have to be in the kitchen all the time baking, and you do not have to be in the studio all the time photographing or be at the weddings taking those photos. You will be making a profit because you are a business owner. There are systems in place. Then the investor, you're able to get passive income. He calls it passive income, but of course he qualifies it, and lots of other people qualify it, that there's no such a thing as passive income, that you put your money somewhere without doing any work, because investing requires work. You have to look at the company financials. So Kiyosaki and his people, they say it's important. We need to learn how to read the income statement, the balance sheet and all this other stuff, so we can determine what is a valuable business opportunity from what it is not. So in that sense, it's not really passive because you have to do your homework. You have to get pencil and paper, look at things, crunch some numbers, discuss with your wife, discuss with your accountant, discuss with your husband, and all that is not passive because you are doing some work. But you get the gist. So you're getting passive income because you're just moving profits that you've gotten from your job, from your self-employment, from your the business that you own, and then you get some more money. So you're going to be able to exercise entrepreneurial behavior if you look at this quadrant when you're in the self-employment stage or when you're in the business owner stage. So that's a good place to flex entrepreneurial behavior. Now, which is the best? Should you be self-employed? Should you be employed, should you be a business owner, should you be an investor? That's a topic for another day. But let me give you a hint. It is all circumstantial. It depends on your age, your skill set, your industry, your country, stuff like that. So that's it for today. Hope I've been able to answer your question, Sinenhlanla Sne, and hope I've not been able. I hope I've not confused you with all the extra stuff that I threw in there. I just thought it would be cool to know. So that's the difference. Entrepreneurs, investors, they both want to make money. Entrepreneurs want to make a huge killing from solving problems, and then investors want to make huge amounts of money, but they don't want to do it necessarily today. They want to do it over time, and they're going to do that by allocating capital between different asset classes. So that's all for today, folks. If you love what you've been hearing on the podcast, hit me up on 08064662140. You can call, you can SMS, you can WhatsApp, or you can hit me up on Telegram. I have coaching and consulting options available for negotiating and deal closing skills. This is where I'm going to help you guys become effective at negotiating and closing deals. Not just you, but also members of your team if you're in the process of setting up systems so that you can have a successful business and so you can go beyond being employed like most people are, or self-employed like some of us are. Remember, connect with me on LinkedIn or any social media of choice. I'm not on Twitter or X because I've been banned. I think I should make that podcast episode so that folks know why I have been banned from X. Don't worry, it's nothing sexy. It's quite boring, actually. But it's a good cautionary tale about how not to use social media. My name is Tavishima Ayede. You can confirm the spelling and the email address on the website where you're currently listening to this episode, or the profile of the podcast app where you are listening to my voice. So that's it for today. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.